building wealth with tax deeds is different from building wealth with tax liens. Now, usually at these seminars, we get into heated debates, which are better, liens or deeds. So let me throw it out here. Who thinks that liens are the best way to get rich? Okay, all right. Who thinks that tax deeds are the best way to go? And you others, you're waiting for bingo? Is that it? I just didn't know. Okay. Well, it really depends. It really depends on where you are in your life and what you're trying to accomplish, whether liens are better than deeds. Okay. Now, Bob did a terrific job last night of showing you how to make money with deeds in the woods. Now, I'm going to show you how to make money with deeds in the city. Okay, it was about 2.5 years ago that in my quest to make my comeback, I went to a seminar in Denver, just like this, lots of speakers. And I went specifically to learn about, foreclosures and, lease options and things like that. But one of the speakers happened to be Ted.Thomas. And I'd never heard of Ted. And, I was kind of annoyed. I was waiting for Bill Bronchick, one of those things. And Ted spoke, and he spoke about tax liens and tax deeds. And I knew something about tax liens and deeds because many years ago I had met an attorney who was buying them in New Jersey. Fast forward to Denver a couple years ago, and Ted is talking about tax liens and tax deeds. And I could tell from his presentation that this was different. This was more comprehensive. This was more support. And it was a much bigger world out there than just New Jersey. So I bought his course. At the time, the course was only, 6 tapes and 3 manuals, whatever. But that's what I used to get started in this business. About, a month and a half after taking his course, after buying the course, I bought a property. Now, I ascribe that to beginner's luck. Okay? Because what I did was take action. And taking action is really more important than anything else. I mean, once you get a basic knowledge, you don't have to wait until you know every single detail. And that's what I've seen a lot of people do, just get hung up in details and never do anything. So please don't fall into that. So I was able to take the knowledge I had, and in combination with an investor that I'll talk about, we bought some property. And within a few months, I was half owner of $50,000 worth of properties. Anybody else want to learn how to do that? All right, let's talk in general first about auctions, tax deed auctions. Your goal is to steal a property. Now, this is very important. Can you write that down? Because most people feel that their goal is to buy a property. You can buy a property anywhere, anytime. You want to steal a property. My own goal was to make a 300% profit. Okay, that's pretty close to stealing, as I think you can come legally. All right? There are other situations where, see, because my goal then was to turn around and sell it quickly. There are other times when your goal might be to buy something for your own use. So if you're going to buy it for your own use, then you want at least 30%, 50 to 30% off the retail, right? That would qualify as a steal. These are the steps for success in a tax deed auction. First of all, you have to have your goal. You have to have goals in mind, or else you can easily get turned around, and next thing you know, your hand is up when it should be down, and down when it should be up. You start with what I call the suspects. The suspects are the properties that are available at the auction. These are the suspects. And the suspects are different types of property, and the suspects are in different areas. They could be single families, they could be commercial, they could be raw land, they could be in the city, they could be rural, could be suburban. Now, you have to filter these properties through your own criteria. Do you want to buy properties, rural properties? Do you want to buy properties in the city? Do you want to buy single families? Do you want to buy commercial? Okay, so you are taking the first pass at filtering these properties out. Then there are neighborhoods, okay? Properties are in neighborhoods. Are you comfortable with the neighborhood? Do you know the neighborhood? If you're looking to buy something for yourself, are any neighborhoods that you would like to live in yourself? Okay? the characteristics of the market. Is the market hot? What's going on? You talk to realtors, get an idea of what's selling, what's not selling, how long it's taking to sell. And very important, if you're in this as an investor, you want to start identifying likely buyers, okay, because that's your exit strategy. Likely buyers. Who is likely to buy this type of property that you're interested in, and how much are they paying? You want to come up with the maximum bid, and you want to have that maximum bid chiseled in your forehead when you go into the auction house. And the way to determine that, you've taken a property that you've taken a list of properties and say, okay, these are the ones I want to go after for the reasons we looked at on the other slide. Do any of them require improvement? Now, do you think that properties available in a tax deed sale may need some improvement?
Probably.
Probably, okay. Because these are properties that nobody cared about, right? They didn't pay taxes on for 3 to 5 years. So it's very likely that they will need some type of improvement. You're not going to find, the classic New England Cape Cod with a white picket fence with smoke coming out of the chimney. Okay, it's not going to happen. So if you take the cost, if you determine the cost, then you subtract that from the price you think you can get it for, you'll arrive at the maximum bid. And that's what you go in to the auction with. Now, research is something you hear a lot of. But how many people here like murder mysteries, whodunits, detective stories? Okay, very popular. People who do puzzles. Well, that's the way you approach research, because that's what that is. Okay, this is like a detective story. Can you imagine the feeling when a detective solves a tough case? Okay. They get a feeling of pride, of accomplishment, etc. And that's what you're going to get if you're successful. And you're also going to get something else. You're going to get a check. Okay, you're going to get a check if you're successful. So research is something, don't think of like being stuck in the library with books surrounding you, whatever. Research is going to take many forms, as we'll show. You're a gold miner. You've got to dig away all of that rock and dirt and dust to get to the nuggets. That's what research is. And bottom line, it can be fun, like I said, just like a detective trying to solve a tough case. Now, how much research has to be done? This is a big variable, and if you think for a moment, you'll see why. Number one, the area that you're considering investing in, how familiar are you with that area? Do you live in that area? Have you ever seen that area ever in life before? Like if you're in Canada and you fly down to Florida and you've never been to Florida, do you think the research will take a little more time than the research would if you were investing in your neighborhood? Okay, so that's a big variable right there. Also, the type of lien, the subject of your investment. Is it a deed? Is it a lien? Is it a struck-off property? They're going to be variables. Here, research is almost a joke. You get in your car, you drive around. Is the building there or is it not there? And don't laugh, because sometimes the buildings are not there. Okay, they could have been torn down, could have been the wrong address, so it's easy, but don't ignore it. Now, the deed sale, as you'll see, you have to go into more details, because, ladies and gentlemen, when you buy a deed, you are in the real estate business. Okay, you're buying real estate. Forget all the fancy terms, whatever. You are buying real estate. So whatever comes with buying real estate, that's what you end up with. The property type. Will it take less research on a piece of vacant land as opposed to a 4-story commercial building? Obviously. And finally, is this your first auction or is it your 11th auction? So you see, research is something that can vary all over the place. Don't be afraid of it. Approach with a right mindset, and you'll be successful. The nice thing about research, particularly these days, even more so now than just a couple of years ago, is that the bulk of it can be done from home in many cases, not all cases. Just like you can get the Arizona Computer Center on your computer, and that's the kind of thing we're talking about that's possible now. To find out what properties are available, everybody will mail you a catalog, but some of the counties now are actually online. All the properties with pictures are there on the county website, which makes it a lot easier. If you're going to start the research, here are some resources. There's a site that's called netroonline.com. They'll give you a list of all the states in the country, and you click on the state, then you click on the county you're interested in. Now, not all counties are online. Some counties are, they just have like a home page, which is good because you can get updated information. Printed materials are out of date the moment they're printed. On the internet, they'll have the current offices, the tax assessor, the tax collector, the treasurer, et cetera, the addresses, the telephone numbers. But more and more counties now, they're all working on it, but more and more counties are actually putting all of their assessor data and the recording information on the titles right there on the internet, which makes it very easy to do a ton of research. Also, there are other services, MSN Home Advisor. They have a thing there where you can put in the zip code of the area you're interested in and get all the demographics, the income, number of people in the surrounding areas. So you have all kinds of resources at your beck and call. DataQuick is indicative of a paid service. This is very comprehensive. You can do comps. You can, I don't know if they have pictures, but you can get physical descriptions, characteristics of properties, as I'll show you. They charge for this. It's about $49. It really depends on what you want, but $49 a month and so much per search, etc. There's another one that I didn't put down here called realinfo.com. They're very, very strong for New York. They're spreading across the country. They're in more places than New York, but that's where they started, and that's where the strength is. Okay. That's real-info.com. Now, these are some of the properties that were available at this particular Albany auction. All right. I didn't know that I was going to be doing this, so I marked it up. This is my copy. You can see that they're mainly, these were inner city properties that I was looking at. Those are some of the prices that they went for. $9,500, that's two families over there. $46,000, that was a pizza shop, that was a commercial deal there. Now Albany is online. Okay, so you can just go to the Albany County website and scroll through them. You don't have to even deal with the paper. Again, we're starting with the suspects, right? The suspects are the properties that are listed in the auction. What types of areas? Some people, right, would be more comfortable in a rural area. Others would be more comfortable in a city area or suburban. So that's the first way people say, so many properties, how do I choose which one? Well, this is the way you start. Now also, from home, get on the telephone, get on the internet, and you're going to call. You can call as many people or as many offices, whatever, that you think would have some bearing. All right, let's take a couple examples. Police precincts, obviously, you want to know, where the high crime areas. Realtors can be very, very helpful. If you approach them correctly, let them know that you're an investor, you're considering investments in the area. Okay, give them some feeling that there's a possibility of doing business. But of course, they'll know what's the state of the market. What's selling, what's not selling. They can give you access to the MLS in some cases, or at least give you comps for a particular area. Investment clubs are a big help. I didn't do this back then, but this is something that you can take advantage of. Investment clubs are very, very helpful. You contact the people, you tell them that you're thinking of investing in the area, and quite often they'll be very open and they'll share contacts, share resources, and you may even find potential buyers, right? Because you want to know, well, who in the club, buys fixers? Who in the club buys commercial properties? Who develops raw land? Okay, it can be a vital resource. Now, offices of redevelopment, zoning offices. This is kind of dry, oh my God, Office of Redevelopment. Well, Karen, I don't know if she spoke about this when she was here, Karen Lewis. She hit a home run just by going that extra effort and talking to the people in zoning and redevelopment. Because one of the properties that she was looking at, vacant land, just vacant land, they had it listed as a single family lot. But in the meantime, it had been rezoned, because the area was changing, rezoned to condos. There are condos surrounding this area, and now this particular plot had been rezoned for condos. What happens when land is rezoned from single family to condos? Okay. I think she bought it for $17,000 because it was being sold, and everybody else, you know, when they looked, what did they see? Single family lot. $17,000, you know, why go any higher? In the meantime, it had been rezoned, and I know she's turned down over $125,000 for that property. And it's probably worth 3 times that. Okay, so again, if you didn't go this far, you know, she would have lost that. So there's no requirement as to how much research that can be done. Like I said, here, you're just driving around, you know, looking to see if the house is there. But like the detective, you know, like, you know, Sherlock Holmes, the more you get into it, the better armed you're going to be. Now, I came across, in my research, this is a map of a particular area, the Lark Street Improvement Area, okay? And that line down the middle is Lark Street. Now, this end of Lark Street is beautiful. As a matter of fact, it reminded me of Columbus Avenue or Soho, New York, if any of you know Soho or you've heard of it. You know, it's an area, you know, nice building. I mean, the structures were nice. It was a rundown, you know, poverty area. So what happened? Artists started moving in. And we all know that where artists go, lawyers are sure to follow. In about 5 years, a transformation had started. The artists came in, they started putting in little shops and everything, and things started to be upgraded. And then as one area becomes developed, it spreads to the next area, to the next, to the next. Now, of course, Soho is, you know, world famous. You know, everybody wants to live there, $1 million co-ops. But I saw the same type of process starting here. Because again, here, on this end, were the shops, the coffee houses. On the other end, were the crack houses. Okay? And there was a continuum. You could see the development. Even there, you could see everything is crowded around the lower area. There's the shops, the galleries, etc., and it thins out as you go towards the north end. And of course, the houses that we were interested in on the auction were on the north end. Okay, why did I choose the Lark Street area? It was an inner city area. I had made money in that type of area before. You know, I had a feel for it. I wasn't afraid of it. Okay, the government was putting money. You know, follow the money. The government was putting money into these areas because, as I'll show you, this was only 5 minutes from the new Albany. This whole area was 5 minutes from the new area. So did the government want to put in all of that money into the new Albany when 5 minutes from there was a blighted area? No. And plus, the redevelopment had already started. It wasn't like you had to wait 10 years for it to start. And finally, any area that has a cartoon map and a website, I mean, you know that something's happening there. Okay? That's the new Albany. Okay, and that's literally 5 minutes from the area we're talking about, Lark Street. Okay, so we determined an area, right? Remember the steps we talked about? Now we've got to do research in the area. DataQuick, I mentioned to you, they have all types of information on the property. That you have to pay for. Real info we talked about. You're trying to determine, you know, what's going on. What are the comparables? What are properties selling for? You can get the physical details of properties from these sources. Talk to neighbors. They'll give you the neighbors' addresses. Any realtors here? Okay, so you guys know what a farm report is. For everybody else, a farm report is a listing of the properties in a particular geography. Okay? And they give you such things as the addresses. That's the address. The size, 2696, that's the square footage of the lot. Of the building, 5455 is the size of the lot itself. Okay. 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. The last sale was $123.98 for $33,308. Do you see how helpful this kind of information could be when you're trying to determine, you know, what's the value of the property you're looking at? This is a picture of one of the real info profiles that we talked about. It's got the physical condition of the property, schools, financial information. You know, what did it sell for? You know, what did the last person who bought it, what did they pay for it? Who was that person? The names, the dates of the transaction. You know, it's a gold mine. This is all available at home. You haven't left home yet. This is interesting from DataQuick. Nearby homeowners. We talked about the neighbors, right? So starting with the address you're interested in, you can find the neighbors surrounding that area. Now, what good would that do? Would anybody here pick up the phone and get the number and call one of these people and say, hi, you know, I'm thinking of moving in the area. I understand it's a lovely area. You know, how long have you lived there? You mind giving me some information? Right? I mean, it can be invaluable. There is a limit to what you can do from home. At some point, you have to get up and go. But by now, you know, you've pretty much narrowed down your objectives, right? You're converting them from suspects to prospects. So when you get up there, you're going to talk to various people. Again, what is your goal? To find a property you can sell quickly at a great profit. Okay? So you're going to have to learn, for instance, contractors. Why would you talk to contractors? Because they are the people, by and large, that'll buy fixers. You talk to them, you tell them you think you're buying property in the area. They'll give you, you know, a resume. They'll tell you what's going on. They'll tell you what they bought. They'll tell you what they're looking for. Okay, realtors, again, can give you an idea of what's happening, you know, who's moving, what schools are where, what churches are there. The owners, the current owners. One thing I liked about Lark Street was when I walked down to that lower end, the owners there were the same type of owners I saw, you know, on Columbus Avenue in Soho, the pioneers, the youngish people who weren't afraid to go into areas that were not quite set. They were the artists, etc. So that kind of interaction with the neighbors is very, very important. And of course, the shops, the galleries. This is the upper end. This is the lower end. You know, where you saw all the shops and galleries. There's a restaurant right there, great fish and chips, you know, wonderful. And you just walk in, you say, hey, how's business? You know, if all the shops are saying, business is dying, you know, that's one indication. You say, oh, it's great, you know, and we're opening up another place and this, that, and the other, and you can actually see progress. Well, there you go. This is a picture of the other side of the street. Now, for those who are not from the East, you know, you may have heard a term brownstone or townhouse. Okay, well, that's what these are. These are townhouses, brownstones. They call them brownstones because originally, when they were built in the 1860s, 70s, the facade, the finish, was sandstone, which was brown. So that's how the term came about. Typically, they were maybe 3,000 to 4,000 square feet, and one family lived in each of those structures. And usually the help, you know, you see a little window up at the very top. The help would live upstairs, you know, just like in Britain. This is a picture of the block all the way down at the other end. And due to my skill and professionalism as a photographer, you'd hardly know the difference, right? Okay. Actually, the property we're interested in was further down, covered by trees, but trees are good. Trees are good. And here are some more properties down at that end of Lark Street. This was 144 Lark. It was on the market right now for $75,000. Okay, and again, it needed tons of work. This is another one, 104 Lark. It sold in 1998 for $75,000. Now, what they had done to these houses as the neighborhoods changed over the years, I told you they were one-family dwellings. Well, they got chopped up as the original families. The original families were quite wealthy. They were the big merchants of the time. Abraham and Strauss, A&S department stores, you may have heard of. Well, Abraham, believe it or not, that was his name. Abraham lived in one of these brownstones, not in Albany, but in Brooklyn. Okay, we bought one nearby. But now they've been chopped up. So each floor is probably an apartment. And in Manhattan, they actually chopped them up further, where they would chop each floor in half and rent out these little, you know, one-bedrooms. When I was young and I lived in one on the Upper West Side near Columbus Avenue, we were paying $351 a month and it was about 300 square feet. Now those same apartments are about $1,500. Okay, so we came down to 3 properties that we were very much interested in. 115 Lock. Now when I say a 3-story, 3-family shell, you know 3-story, 3-family. A shell simply means that, like a clam, you know, if you take the meat out, there's just a shell. Well, everything inside needed to be redone. So just the building was there. That's a shell. 139 Lark we were very excited about because 139 had a retail space, a store, at the ground level, and then 2 apartments above. And I've owned properties like that, and the store will generally give you more rent than the apartments. So we figured somebody with a trade could move in, put his business downstairs, and either live upstairs or rent out upstairs. So we thought that had tremendous potential. The other building, Clinton, was near Lark. It was not on Lark. Okay, this is 115 Lark. This is one of the 3 I just told you about. It was in the auction. The assessed value was $24,000. Now, what does the assessed value mean? The assessed value is the value that the tax people put on the property. Okay? It may or may not have any bearing with reality, what the current marketplace is. So look at it as a way to compare different properties. One will have a higher assessed value, one will have a lower assessed value, but don't think that it has anything to do with the current market value. Because I've seen assessed values very high and the building is worth nothing. And you've seen the opposite, because usually counties don't assess properties every year. They might assess them every 5 years or haven't assessed them in 30 years. Okay, one of the things people are amazed at in New York, like on a building, a brownstone like that, right now those brownstones in Brooklyn are close to $1 million. The taxes are about $1,700, simply because they haven't reassessed in like 30 years. At 139, this is one I was telling you about. It's got a store on the bottom. It was a restaurant at one time. It was a realtor's office. And it's a fairly deep building. Goes all the way back. There's a little extension. Now again, because of my skill and prowess as a photographer, who would know that that building was fire damaged? It's gutted. Okay, you can stand there on the bottom floor and look up, and you'll see the sky. Okay, it was a total wreck. The assessed value, $43,000. Does that tell you something? This is 61 Clinton. Assessed value $21,000. That's also that was a 4-story. So there's an additional space there, 3-family. And the thing we liked about it was around the corner from a theater that's being redeveloped. So again, money being poured in. But on either side, there were brownstones that were already renovated. People were living in them. So you start with the area and type of the properties. You select what you feel comfortable in, right? Okay. Did everybody write that down before? You know, these steps? You start with an area. How do you select the properties that you're going to bid on? Start with the area. Start with the type of property. Now, we recommend that you start off with single families or 1 to 4 family dwellings because they're the easiest ones to move. That's the most demand. Stay away from, unless you're Bob Schumacher, stay away from undeveloped land. Now, undeveloped is not a lot in a subdivision. Undeveloped is like there's no street address and there's just map coordinates and all you see is trees. If you look close enough, you'll probably see Bob in one of those trees. But for the rest of us, we don't want to go there. Okay? So then you look at specific neighborhoods, you look at the properties, the values, and what are you looking for? You're looking for who is going to buy this property. You talk to that type of person. Is it a contractor? Is it going to need fixing up? You're going to need a contractor. Get bids. In most cases, unless the property is occupied, you will be able to go inside the property. If the property is occupied, you will not get the chance to go in because you can't disturb them. We're getting down to where the rubber meets the road. We have to come up with the maximum price we'll pay. The target, remember, 300% profit. We found that the contractors, who are the potential buyers, will pay between $19,000 and $25,000 for a shell in this area in that time. So What's 1/3? $8,000. Zero improvement cost. Why is there zero improvement cost here? Right, because we're going to wholesale. We're not going to fix it up. We've done long-distance renovations before, and they don't work. I've got the arrows, the stripes back here to prove it. Okay, they don't work. So our maximum bid for that property was going to be $8,000. We've got the properties that we want. We figured out the maximum prices.